So yeah, a lot of talk going around as of late. The latest conflict is not the newest conflict by any stretch of the imagination, but it is the latest. It's the conflict in Israel for some, the conflict in Palestine for others. A lot of people are waxing historian as of late. They're learning about the British Mandate, Transjordan, the Balfour Declaration. They're learning about the Zionist Congress. They're learning about David Ben-Gurion, Chaim Weizmann, all of these different people. And yeah, that's good. That's good. We're learning history. We're starting to investigate the region. The mistake that we're making, and I'm speaking strictly for people who look like me, people that share my hue, people that share my hair texture, my nose and lip size, and all of these other designators that other people have assigned to us, right? He who has the gold makes the rules. That's a completely different topic. But I'm speaking expressly about this conflict between Israelis and Palestinians, okay? If we're going to go the history route, I want to issue a challenge. Let's make an attempt to be objective here. Let's research and do the history, but let's not do it so much from our particular lean, who we're already in favor of already. You know, let's try not to do that. Because if you're going to talk about history and you're going to speak authoritatively, you want to talk about the Balfour Declaration, you want to talk about Baron Rothschild's money and all these other things, let's talk about the British Mandate. Let's talk about when the British were in control, okay? Let's talk about when it was the Ottoman Empire, the Turks who were in control. Let's talk about when the Mamluks were in control. And let's absolutely talk about when, back before all of this, you had the kingdom of Judea. That's right, I said it, the kingdom of Judea that was there. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the onslaught in Islam being moved through the region and taking control by the sword until I think it was the King of France that put his foot in that ass and halted their stop. September 11th, I think, significant date that was, significant day in whatever year that was. Let's talk about the fact that Islam has Mecca and Medina. If you want to go into any of these places, you have to repeat the words of the Shahada, saying that there's no God but who they call God, and, you know, Muhammad is their prophet. Jerusalem stands alone for a lot of different reasons. Among those is the fact that the name Jerusalem in any form never appears in the Quran, never appears at any point, at any time. That's something that should be held in mind. I grew up with Palestinians, wonderful people. When my father passed away in the mid-'80s, a Palestinian family in Texas, the older men in that family took me under their wing, and they treated me just like their own. Sure, I was a Hebrew speaker, and I was a Hebrew writer, and we had some clashes back in the day when at one of their convenience stores, I wrote the words Am Yisrael Chai on a box, and it was discovered, and it was a whole big blowout. I didn't understand the conflict back then. I was nothing more than 13 years old, so how could I possibly know? But at any rate, I know Palestinian people. I love Palestinian people. They are members of one of the biggest families in the region from El Khalil. El Khalil, which is also called Hebron, right? Hebron in Hebrew. And if you go far enough back, hint, hint, in the Hebrew Bible, this place is called Kiryat Arba. Kiryat Arba, the place of the four. It's where all of the patriarchs are buried. The Hebrew prophets, the Hebrew patriarchs before they were acquired by others. This is where they are buried. Wonderful people. When you're in with them, you're in. When they love you, they love you. When they don't, not so much. So, you know, I want to spell out what I know to be true, and I guess we just won't say it. Not enough of my own people will say it. This thing comes down to race for my people. Comes down to race, okay? Because of the things that were done to us and the things that are still being done to us in this country, we look at this situation as the Ashkenazi Jews being a big group of white people who are making a claim to a biblical lineage and therefore a biblical mandate in order to occupy land, right? And they're doing so at the expense of some poor people who have somehow always been there. And let's just face it, those other people are a little closer to black than the other folks are. They're melanated, you know, and they can tan a little bit. So we see that as, you know, someone that we can identify with, someone who's going through a similar struggle. I have a lot of problems even with the statement that I just made or with that thought process. It's because we cheapen our struggle when we want to just line it up side by side with someone else's. I'll say it all day long. Our struggle is unique and it's unmatched in the world in that we are the only people group that was taken away from home en masse, and still we're in the land where we were spoiled. Not to mention the murderings, the rapings of men and women, the false accusations of rape that caused cities to be burned down, and I mean, just all of the things. It can go on and on and on. So we cheapen our own struggle and our fight by lining up immediately with something that we feel is similar. I think it was a great thing that Palestinian youth got together and they made videos during the Charleston thing and the whole nine, when tear gas was being thrown on, you know, a mixed crowd. And they said, hey, wrap your faces in rags with water and whatever, and it helps. Great thing. All right. We took that and, you know, we just kind of ran with it. And we started looking at their struggle, because their struggle is real, by the way. We looked at their struggle. We looked at, you know, apartheid. We looked at the way the movements of our people were restricted and how we were dominated and controlled. And you look in Israel's modern history, and there's an argument. There's an argument for that. That is very similar. But again, they're night and day different in their dynamics. You know, we weren't running into bagel shops and blowing ourselves up under a religious command. We definitely weren't doing the things that happened recently in Israel. We definitely weren't doing those things. So it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Now, if you want to sit down and have that argument that Ashkenazi Jews are somehow imposters and they're not the same people, have that argument all day long. You know, they are who they say they are until you prove otherwise that they're not. You know, I don't think that it's a big mystery in the academic world. Most people will agree. Most of the learned and educated minds will agree that everybody started off really brown or black, you know, but we didn't stay the same. You know, migration, intermixing, climate, you know, temperature change in the regions that people lived, you know, we didn't stay the same. That's hypocritical too. I mean, if you just want to take that on its face, because Ashkenazi Jews, you know, look white, you know, that is hypocritical, because as a person who spends a lot of time in that region, all you got to do is go into the West Bank. All you got to do is go over into Jordan, go into Egypt, and there are some Arabs with plenty of blonde hair, red hair, green eyes, blue eyes, whiter than milk, look like lactate, look like 2% skim milk. It's a stupid premise. It's a stupid premise. And then we go back and we look at the reasons historically why Jews in America sought to identify as white. It's a two-sided sword. They wounded themselves with it because it was stupid, by the way, on one level. They wounded themselves with it. Okay, it's a two-sided sword, because on one end, it would help them avoid persecution, you know, them not being able to You know, imagine the kid in bobby socks, the white girl in bobby socks in the 50s who brings home a nice boy, and the father looks at the base of the boy's hair and sees a little bit too much curl and his nose might be a little pronounced, and asks what his last name is. Goldberg. Nope, it's a wrap. You ain't marrying my daughter. So, you know, just ask Ishur Danielovich. Michael Douglas. Yeah. Or ask Yehonatan Leibowitz. John Stewart. You get the idea of why this thing came about. But in doing so, they cheapened their own struggle, because whereas they were cutting down on the persecution that they were facing by trying to pass as white, now they've helped bolster the fight that they're having now in Israel proper, being deemed as imposters, which is stupid on its face, you know, for all of the reasons that you can take this argument.